We've got another t-shirt.
Okay, so estate agents are always to blame. I mean, as a starting point, as a show of hands, who agrees that this is a sentiment of most consumers that go through a home experience? Interesting. So, our data shows that the consumer believes that the estate agent is the custodian of their sale and purchase. It's the first person that they speak to when they arrange a viewing, get a valuation, and because of the fees involved, the consumer will hold the estate agent accountable for anything that goes wrong. So if there's a delay, if the transaction falls through, or if a target completion date is missed, regardless of how realistic or unrealistic that completion date is, the consumer will blame the estate agent. And generally all the stress, duress and emotions of a home are thrown in the direction of the estate agent by the consumer during that move. And one of the reasons why is that consumer expectation has got so high, and estate agents aren't delivering what the consumer expects. Now, they say that the first step of solving a problem is accepting that there is one, and sales progression in this sector is the problem. It still takes, on average, over 3 months to get a property from price agreed to completion. The fall through rate is still 1 in 3. A consumer will lose just short of £3,000 if a transaction falls through. And the government states that in 2014, the cost of residential fall-throughs to the UK economy was £270 million. Now, one of the reasons and one of the challenges of why sales progression is broken and why it is a problem is that the consumer expects more. So, a consumer today can buy a low-value item from the internet, and their phone will tell them when that product is dispatched. It will tell them the estimated delivery time. They'll be able to track the progress of that product until the point they get a real-time notification saying this item is in your letterbox. When a consumer orders a taxi for Uber, they know where that taxi is coming from, the route it's taking, and they know the route it's going to take to the drop-off point. And I found out the other day that Domino's Pizza have an app called the Pizza Tracker, so you know when the base is ready, when the topping's on, when the pizza's in the oven, when the pizza's out of the oven, when the pizza's in the box, when it's in the takeaway van, and when it gets delivered to your doorstep. All that for a £10 pizza. So what does the consumer think about the estate agent? Well, we have researched consumers for the last 2 years as part of our R&D for View My Chain. And the truth is that the consumer doesn't care how an estate agent describes their business model. They don't care if you call yourself online, traditional, local, high street, independent, national. What they do care about is the level of customer service that your estate agency will deliver to that consumer through their sale or purchase. What they do care about is the speed at which the transaction will be dealt with. And most importantly, certainty. Certainty that if they've agreed the price to buy or sell a house, that deal is going to happen. Now those three businesses, interestingly, they're not price-led decisions for the consumer. Uber's actually the most expensive taxi company during peak times. Online retail is no cheaper today than high street retail. And Domino's, apparently, I don't eat Domino's, but apparently it's not the cheapest takeaway either. Now, I'm not saying that buying a pizza or ordering a taxi is the same as buying a house. It's not as simple. However, we do make things more difficult for ourselves in this sector because we work in silos. There's no collaboration between sectors, platforms, and professionals. Agents and conveyancers still deal with a house sale as a single transaction. Yet, a property chain includes multiple parties with a common goal, yet we don't have a common platform working to achieve the common goal. And the current systems in the marketplace offered by software vendors don't work. They're task management solutions that still rely upon the same challenges as paper-based chain sheets. For example, time on the phone. Estate agents invest a huge amount of effort in gathering information manually up and down the chain from other estate agents, from surveyors, from lenders, from conveyancers. In order to provide a single view to the conveyancer, the agent, the consumer, the three parties in the transaction, it requires adoption, it requires collaboration. Everything on the market today requires every other agent in the chain to adopt the same platform. It requires the conveyancer to use the same platform, and ultimately still relies upon data entry for it to work. And the biggest challenge is that they still rely upon honesty, accuracy, and sometimes just the availability of everybody else in the chain. And the chain will always be as weak as the weakest link. If somebody's unavailable, busy, lazy, has a different model, that impacts the entire chain, not that single transaction. So the way that we approach this solution is that we looked at the ecosystem of the property sector, and we spent time with the key stakeholders involved in taking a property from price agreed up to the point of completion. And we didn't believe that this was a software challenge or a workflow challenge. We believed that we could create a data ecosystem from all the key stakeholders in the property sector. We could create a platform that does not rely upon integration with third-party systems, does not rely upon a conveyancer updating their element of the process, does not rely upon all the agents in a chain having to adopt before you have a viable product. And what we've created, Review My Chain, is a platform that tells you, as the estate agent, how your sale is progressing. It tells you how the chain is progressing, and not just a piece of software that relies on you telling the software how the chain is progressing. It doesn't need to speak to your conveyancer. It doesn't need adoption from all the estate agents in the chain for it to work. But most importantly, it provides instant visibility and transparency to the estate agent on where their sale is, where the chain is progressing. And to the consumer, that level of transparency is what empowers them. That is the purchase decision in multiple sectors. Uber, Amazon, Domino's are just 3 examples. So we did ask 3 times if the sound works.
View My Chain identifies when a property progresses to key stages of the sales process by using data collected from across the sector. Whole of market coverage ensures each event is automatically updated from our database of property listings, legal searches, and mortgage applications. As it uses reliable data, you can update your customer accurately, quickly, and efficiently. You can edit, change, and break chains at any point. Our database will immediately identify and notify you of the key events against every property in the chain. It does not require any input from your conveyancer, other systems, or connecting estate agents. The relevant staff members will receive updates on all of the properties in the chain, giving you confirmation of activity or warnings of possible delays. You can access all of this information on the go and at any time, 24/7. You can trial View My Chain with no integration and be up and running within days. Find out more now.
Cool. So we've got about 5 minutes for questions, but anything we don't cover, please come and see us in the expert room. The floor is yours.
I'm rather hoping there are no solicitors in the room. How do you get around the lazy solicitors who, how does it get around that?
So in case we have any solicitors in the room, I don't think they're lazy, I think they're overworked.
One way of putting it, okay.
So we believe that if we can provide visibility based on reliable data rather than human input, you can understand and rely upon information. So we've looked at where the conveyancer goes to interact with, for example, obtaining title documents, requesting searches, getting those searches back, understanding when mortgages are being approved. So we've gone to the search ordering platforms, we've gone to manufacturers and searches, we've gone to the places where the actual activity and interaction and transaction happens rather than the person that orders the searches, such as the conveyancer. Does that answer your question? So we're not relying upon the conveyancer having to input the information.
No, but how does it allow, and I'm not trying to be difficult here, I'm just trying to work out, so we're just a baby estate agent, mostly we do lettings. How does it allow for the possibility that we've got a tick here, however it's in the pending tray on somebody's desk, and they're not talking to one another,
Yeah.
and I'm phoning both, and they're going, well, we sent for it, and we didn't get it.
Yeah, so the key milestones that we track, price agreed, draft contracts underway, searches ordered, searches back, which is typically the local authority search back, and the mortgage being applied. So we deal with the milestones that lead up to the actual legal inquiry stage of the sales process. Now, every single milestone event is timed from the date that the chain is created. So we know the number of days you should have the contracts out the door, when searches should be ordered, and we know the date that the searches are due back. So every event that happens generates a milestone notification for the member agent for their chain, so they know what events are happening every single day. Those are real-time feeds, but most importantly, we have what we call lag alerts. So if something doesn't happen by a certain date, which will impact the exchange date of the chain, you know as the agent, so if you're in a 4-property chain, instead of having to make at least 4 calls a week to find out who's slowing the chain down, we tell you that this is the dependency, this is the impact having on the chain, and that's where your attention should be focused.
Do you have a provision for down the chain sales falls through? The agent doesn't want to tell you that in case you have to so they keep it quiet
Yeah.
for a few days while they try and resell the property. Is there anything which would automatically flag up that property is back in the market?
Yeah, we have a chain break notification based on online tracking, so we track listings online. So if we see a property that's been added to a chain and then something different happens, such as price change, back on the market, relisted, different agents, because what we often find is, and the chain does have to be 3 or 4 properties long, but the vendor at the top of the chain could have remarketed that property 7, 10, sometimes 2 weeks earlier than when the agent actually makes a courtesy call, which they don't do very often, the chain's falling through. And that notification is once again real time. So you will know as the member agent, if you're using View My Chain, the bottom of the chain potentially is broken.
Yeah, but Graham only works on Tuesdays and he's playing golf this Tuesday, so he won't be until a week on Tuesday. And the file's on his desk, so he's the only one that can deal with it. And the buyer's using CPL and they don't know what's going on. So I see what you're trying to do, and I think it's a great ambition. But speaking as a little independent estate agent, we know where our chains are at. It is a bit of work for our agents, but that's what we get paid for. That's what we see as the value we have. And I don't know that you're offering a solution to that problem. I understand what you're doing, but we can't control what conveyances the buyers or the sellers or certainly the buyers use. We can't control the conveyancing up and down the chain, and certainly not out of our area. So I see what you're doing, but I don't see how it helps us assert any authority on the elements of that chain up and down.
So the power is with transparency. So we're not here to replace good sales progressors and good conveyancers. What we're here to do is take out what is a big inefficiency in the sector, which is having to make the phone calls and take the conveyancers, for example, away from case time, or from a consumer experience point of view, removing the, I will take a call back and I will call you back once I've collected that information. So it doesn't replace what you, the good estate agents, do in terms of sales progression, and it doesn't replace what the good conveyancer does. What it does is shine a light over that whole process and remove the unknown. So how does it benefit you? It gives you more information at your fingertips, so you can make quicker decisions and be able to deliver a better level of customer service, ultimately, than the consumer having to wait for callbacks, which is one of the most stressful things for a consumer, having to deal with, I can only call the estate agent or the conveyancer at 9 o'clock on Monday when I'm back at work, or I've left 2 messages, let's tell them to call them back next week. So it doesn't replace what you do, it makes it easier to focus your attention on where the attention needs to be focused.
So I think there's an element of that. Sorry, that the agents that are here and the agents that will buy into your service are the guys who are doing it properly anyway. And the places where there are problems, yeah, we'll shine lights on them, but it's not areas. We'd love to be able to stop all the countrywide agents referring to CPL as their legal services, because their legal services are a nightmare to deal with, even though the CPL countrywide agents know, but we can't influence those. They're the people who need what you do to improve their process.
Yeah, but 60% of the effort of task management and sales progression is understanding where agents are and where conveyancers are, so understanding the draft contracts are being issued, understanding the searches have been ordered, understanding the searches of that, knowing that that customer has made a mortgage application. That is 60% of the task management effort.
So it's time safe.
And if we can remove that 60% of time, effort, resource, however the business chooses to deploy the efficiency savings, is the business decision. Our job is to say that the process of getting property to the conveyance stage, where a good conveyancer and a good agent earns their money, can be streamlined. manual data collection.
How do you know contracts have been issued?
So every conveyancer needs a digital footprint. So when they go online to access title deeds, when they go online to request searches, they do those activities online. So the only transaction that would not be captured by View My Chain is an unregistered cash purchase where the buyer goes against the conveyancer buyers
you don't know the contract's been issued,
get
though.
searches.
You don't know the contract's been issued. You can see they've done the searches, but you don't know the contract.
We know that the contract, so the milestones
So
contract
they
is
should
underway.
be.
So we know the contracts have been drafted.
Right.
And the next critical milestone, which is the one that is most valued, is searches ordered, because that is multiple process milestones in one. Because it confirms.
Can you tell who's ordered the search?
Yes. We know what searches have been ordered. We know
Okay, so
who's ordered them.
if, for instance, there's a contract race going on, but you don't know about it, but the agent doesn't know about it, but the other solicitor orders a contract, you'll see, hold on a minute, why are they ordering that?
Yeah.
Not our solicitor.
The applicant needs those correct.
Yeah, thank you.
Trevor?
What's the register agents looking for parts?
So the feedback we've had at the moment is an agent view, it's an agent product. Sorry, for the benefit of the room, Trevor's asking if a consumer view is available. The answer is that it isn't. So is that what you're asking? Yeah. The answer is that it's an agent view today, but there is a demand for the consumer to get visibility at a less granular level of the chain. And as you've seen from the presentation today, this is about the benefit to the home mover. Ultimately, the consumer will make a decision in the future based on the level of customer service they're going to get from the estate agent. It's not a price-led decision.
If you're pulling different data sources, unless they're all public, is there any data protection issues?
So DPA in relation to personal data is something that we'll take a lot of advice on. So the way that this is structured and the architect is that DPA doesn't apply to the chain display as it currently stands. Obviously, if we do go to a consumer view, that will require the consumer to consent towards their data being used in that way. So we are DPA compliant. Any more questions? Thank you very much for your time.